Hi everyone, this is Dov Hershkovitz, the Senior Product Manager from the Pipeline Authoring team. I'm here joined by Nadia Sotnikova, our Product Designer, and I'm here to give you a brief walkthrough about our team roadmap for the, I would say, 2 to 3 iterations. But before we'll dive into the actual roadmap, I want to first talk a little bit briefly about the Pipeline Authoring team. As you all know, the Pipeline Authoring is a fairly new team. It was formed late this year. It emerged from a split between CI. And when I talk about the Pipeline Authoring thing and explain the responsibility, I like to show this illustration. If you look at the CI lifecycle, we know that whenever you want to run a pipeline, first user need to define a pipeline. So everything about authoring, writing the pipeline configuration, thinking about the different requirements. This is where the pipeline authoring team responsibility comes into the play. And then when you run a pipeline and you analyze the pipeline and analyze the performance data of the pipeline, this is where the responsibility of the CI team comes into play. But then users don't stop there, because it's a continuous effort to improve and iterate, making sure that the pipeline is working and running efficiently and doing what it needs to be done. So users normally, after they analyze the performance data of their CI pipeline, they will optimize their pipeline. And by optimizing, they will do some editing, will do some fine tuning and more. And this is also where the pipeline authoring comes into play. So if you want to roughly understand what is the distinction between the team, you can think about everything that is related for writing, starting from scratch, or updating or editing your pipeline. This is pipeline authoring responsibility, and everything that is related for running and analyzing your pipeline as it runs, this is more the responsibility of the CI team. And of course, there are some overlaps on the handovers, but this is something that we know how to manage. Now, going back to our roadmap, and again, before that, as we formed the team, we set up a goal, and the goal is straight from our direction page from our handbook, sorry. And the goal is to make the authoring experience as easy as possible for both novice and advanced users alike. And the class sentence is really important, because although the pipeline authoring team emerged because of a need that we know that we need to support our users as they write their pipeline configuration, we will not forget or will not neglect our advanced users, because we have a large install base that we need to make sure we are always thinking about as we improve the experience for our new users. We'll talk about it more as we will dive into the actual roadmap. But now I want to hand it over to Nadia so she can talk more about the job to be done.
Yeah, thanks, Dov. Let me share my screen. All right. So in order to address that goal, that is quite ambitious, as we're really trying to balance two very different needs. So making something very simple, but also keeping it very advanced. We're using the job to be done framework to really focus on solving those specific jobs while being persona agnostic. So the jobs to be done that we have defined for pipeline authoring right now fall roughly into 2 categories. So first is author a pipeline, jobs to be done that have to do with authoring a pipeline. And the other one is facilitating CI/CD processes on the team. So currently, we've been primarily focusing on the experience for authoring a pipeline, because that seems like a core experience that we can then build upon. And our main job to be done here is I want to author a CI pipeline so others in my team can leverage CI to increase the efficiency of their tasks. So Here, for this job to be done, we're primarily looking at developers, DevOps engineers that are setting up CI/CD pipelines for their team, whether it's a small business or it's an enterprise. They all have to go through that experience. We've been mainly focusing on this job to be done. You can see we have more granular job statements here. Dov will later talk a bit more about the specific workflows that have to do with this job to be done. But I would like to talk a little bit where these job to be done came from. So we've done lots of research that informed these job to be done. Specifically, you can see here, we've done some problem validation. A major effort was this research to better understand the experience for CI adoption, and lots of great insights came out of that. We've also gotten lots of insights from the system usability score, and some more specific problem validation that were feature related, but also brought lots of insights related to all kinds of workflows. And lots of insights also came out of the customer interviews. So those shouldn't be underestimated. I feel like sometimes our most interesting insights come from customer interviews. So a lot of those also tie into those jobs to be done. And there are some solution validation efforts that we're running as well. That also maybe indirectly, but they inform everything that we do regarding the jobs to be done. So this is still like a living, breathing organism. We keep adding more and more jobs to be done. This is far from a complete list, but as we're learning more and more about the problems that we're solving, we're building upon it. So yeah, so that's where this vision comes from. And now Dov will go more into detail about the specific workflow that we're currently focusing on. You're muted, Dov.
Sorry, I was in mute. I was just thanking you. So yeah, so as Nadia explained, we looked at the job to be done. We've done our research, and we understand what is the user journey that the user need to do. What are the steps the user need to do? It doesn't matter if you are like a small to medium enterprise, small to medium business, or an enterprise solution. And we all know that to start with, we want to make sure that users, the minute they create a new project, we want them to try out our CI, which means that we want to take them as quickly as possible and allow them to create their pipeline configuration. And this is where we have this supported epic about the first time experience. So it is a mixture between the work that we are doing with the growth team in order to do some tests and make sure to optimize the right way on how quickly we can get users from creating a project to go directly to our pipeline authoring area, and also the first time experience in the pipeline authoring area. So once you are there, and I can show some of the issues, so everything that is related to making to having some sort of an empty state to allow the user to, the minute they land on the pipeline editor, which is our default editor for authoring a pipeline, so they can easily and quickly create their pipeline configuration. This is super important because we want to make sure that this experience is a whole and will support those new users. And like obviously, once they created their pipeline configuration, we want them quickly to start to try out, to start author the pipeline, or maybe adjust their configuration. And this is where we have this whole epic about, it is actually the second iteration of the pipeline editor. The first iteration of the pipeline editor was just to create the actual editor, but now we are more into making sure that the actual experience within the editor is well suited for those users. So we identify a few areas where the users need to move away from the pipeline editor, and we want to make sure we keep them within the experience. So the first thing is getting the users in the pipeline editor, and then improving the experience within the pipeline editor. And as you can see, we have a lot of issues that we still need to work on. And also, to better support our users as they write their pipeline, we also have the visual builder, which we believe will support our users when they create their first pipeline. So it's some sort of a guided, a visual aid to allow our users to build their pipeline. And like the first MVC that we want to do is to implement some sort of a drawer on the pipeline editor, so they can open the drawer and can see some sort of an image or some sort of an illustration on how their first pipeline will look like. So it will be very handy for the first-time users to see like a large text, a large YAML text, and to the right side they can see some sort of an image that will illustrate how their pipeline will look like. And in addition, we also want to improve the templating experience, because again, based on research and mainly customer interview, I would say we realized that the template is the easiest way for users to get familiar with CI, and we want that to be like also some sort of a default experience for our users, which is not so today. So the work here is mainly to, first of all, bring the templates into the pipeline editor, which is not there today, but also then to improve the experience around the templating. In addition, I want to comment that based on those research, we realized that although some of our users are using GitLab UI, a lot of them are using their own editor, and we don't want to neglect them. And this is why every time we have a chance to help and support those users as well, we'll do that. And this is where those two epics come into play to support those users. So one of them is the CI linter on Improve API. So we know that a lot of our users are embedding linting as a part of their workflow, and they do it through APIs. So we want to enhance and improve that experience. And the actual linting of the pipeline editor. So you know, when you go to any editor, you start typing like the first letter, and it will autocomplete, and it will give you some tooltips and some guided help. So this is where this epic is coming from. And one of the suggestions that we are exploring is that if we will indeed be able to generate a JSON scheme, why won't we contribute it upstream for all of our users? So if you are a user that is not using GitLab UI, you can embed it to your own editor. So you'll have your own linting tool within your editor. Okay, and now once, and I'm continuing with the user journey. Once the user finished writing their pipeline, they hit a commit, and they do an MR. Eventually, they run the pipeline, and then they would either go to the pipeline view or the job page just to check the status of their pipeline. And this is where we have the supported epic about the improved CI, the pipeline visualization, about the different pages that we have to show the status of our pipeline. And one of the key areas that we are working on in the coming iteration is to improve our pipeline graph and add the needs view or the needs keyword to that view, so user will be able to organize their view by stages or also by the need relationship. But there are more issues here about the overall improvement of the pipeline editor, including parent-child pipeline and parallel jobs and more. And as I mentioned, some users don't even go to our UI, but they still need to validate and troubleshoot their pipeline configuration. Like mostly they sit and wait, and if the pipeline passed, then they can go on with their workflow. But if not, they want to troubleshoot it. And this is where we have this supported epic on improving the experience. I would say today it's mainly around improving the error warning messages that we provide them in the linter, but we do have a problem validation that we will run in the next iteration, which will hopefully unlock additional implementation issues to support those users. Now, this is the user flow, and I want to pay attention to the issues here on the right, because as I mentioned, we have a large and growing customer base, and we want to make sure we will not forget about them. So this is where every time when we plan the next iteration or we plan our roadmap, we will always have a mixture between issues that will support, I would say, it's not really the onboarding, but issues that will support this user flow, but also issues that will support our existing users. So everything that is related to improve our parent-child and multi-project pipeline, many syntax improvement to improve the keyword of our YAMLs file, the pipeline optimization about how easy it would be to edit and optimize the pipeline, and also bugs, technical depth, and many usability and polishes, UI polish, UX depth, and so they are all grouped in those epics. And as I mentioned, we will always have balance between issues that will support the user journey and issues that will support our existing prime users. Yeah, I think that's what I wanted to cover. Nadia, do you have anything to add before we'll wrap it up?
Well, I think maybe one thing to add is that, you know, as the next step. So now we're focusing on this for the next, you mentioned 2-3 iterations, and as the next step, we will start looking at that other job to be done that has more to do with enforcing some kind of CI/CD guidelines on the team. And we do have some problem validation efforts planned to start focusing on that. So, but yeah, this is it.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me that section. Yeah, we do have a research issue about the job to be done, and like for maybe the second half of this year, we will have a second job to be done, as you mentioned, about the enterprise users, and we will create also like a similar user flow that will support that job to be done, and we will add additional epics and issue, but still there is more to come on that one. Okay, I think we are done. As always, if any of you have any questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me or to Nadia or to both of us. So I hope you found this recording helpful. Thank you and bye-bye.